اللهم صل على الحبيب محمد يا رب صل عليه وسلم.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, I just want to bear witness to what Dr. Zainab mentioned just now, that there's a saying first, once you get a taste of sweet potato pie, you'll never want pumpkin again. And seriously, once you experience the sweetness of Quran, nothing else satisfies you. I can bear witness. When I was a student, as a young man here in Washington, D.C., recently converted to Islam, I started reading the Quran just in English. I didn't know Arabic at the time that I converted. Even my first few Ramadans in the Yusuf Ali translation, they have the juz in English marked off 1/30th, 2/30ths. And so we read, myself and my wife, in English, the ajza, the sections of the Quran every day, the translation in Ramadan. And then I learned to recite it in Arabic. I had a Quran from Turkey, because I converted, before I went to Turkey, I converted, but there I began to learn. And I have an old Quran, and I would read it, and literally the covers fell off of it from just handling it so much. And it was made from the old dry paper with the yellow pages. But then when I came back to the States, and I came here to Washington, D.C., to American University, but I live near Howard University. I live near the corner of 3rd Street and Rhode Island Avenue. There used to be a supermarket there on the corner. I lived right in back of the supermarket. So in any case, I had all of these jazz albums and cassettes. We had cassettes back then. From just my prior life. I used to love listening to jazz. I would stay up all night just listening to jazz music, all sorts of jazz. And just the Quran, listening to the Quran, and then I got Abdul Basit tapes and Husari tapes and Minshawi tapes, and I boxed up all of my jazz collection, and I took it to this vendor at Howard University who used to sell music, and I just gave it to him. And I didn't even ask for any money. I just gave it away because I had no need for it. I had the Quran now. So I didn't need the jazz anymore. And no one ever told me music is haram. You know, we live, some of you heard Preacher Moss and the Haram Police. Some of you heard Preacher Moss do the haram. Woo! Astaghfirullah. Woo! Here come the Haram Police. Astaghfirullah. Haram, bid'ah, haram, bid'ah, haram, bid'ah. Woo! Astaghfirullah. No one told me music's haram. No one beat me down, threatened my life, threatened to lynch me or burn me in a pile of musical cassettes and melting black LPs. We had the LPs. Tar and feather me with melted LPs and then throw me in the Potomac River. Just they introduced me to the Quran and the message of the Quran and the sweetness of the Quran, and then I just voluntarily gave up the music because it couldn't compete, because the Quran was too sweet. And to emphasize that message, I don't have to repeat, because right from the start it entered your heart. I used to be wild, and I knew how to freestyle. But then I learned you don't have to compete and beguile. just open the door and the Quran will bring them more than you could ever bring with words. So that's the message that needs to be heard. Moving right along. Moving right along. So the verse in question that was given, it was recited by the fine young man who introduced the session. And he says, Allah Ta'ala reminds us, كَيْفَ تَكْفُرُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَكُنْتُمْ أَمْوَاتًا فَأَحْيَاكُمْ ثُمَّ يُمِيتُكُمْ ثُمَّ يُحْيِيكُمْ ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. How could you ever reject belief in Allah? كَيْفَ تَكْفُرُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَكُنْتُمْ أَمْوَاتًا. And you were dead. فَأَحْيَاكُمْ. And then He brought you to life. ثُمَّ يُمِيتُكُمْ. Then He will cause you to die. ثُمَّ يُحْيِيكُمْ. Then He will restore you to life. ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. And then unto Him you will be returned. Subhanallah. Who can give us life when we're dead? Just reflect on the many ways we were dead. And in each and every single realm, only Allah could give us life. So we were dead in the realm of non-existence. So the ulama, they say, kuntu fil adam. We were in the realm of nothingness. And Allah Ta'ala brought us into the realm of wujud. Allah Ta'ala brought us into the realm of existence. So when your atheist friends come to you and start making their empty and vacuous and putrid arguments, ask them, can you bring the dead to life? Can you bring something out of nothing? Allah Ta'ala brought us from something into nothing. Azza wa Jal. كَيْفَ تَكْفُرُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَكُنْتُمْ أَمْوَاتًا. We were dead, existing in the realm of physicality. In this realm, physical stuff. And Allah brought us to life by giving us consciousness. By giving us consciousness. This has no consciousness. Who can give this consciousness? We were in this realm. This was us. And Allah breathed into us the ruh, the animating spirit, and bequeathed unto us consciousness, and brought us to life, and gave us the capacity to yearn for Him and to know Him. As Ibn Abbas mentions, or Ibn Mas'ud, when Allah Ta'ala mentions, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I've only created the jinn and humans to worship me. That requires consciousness of Allah. How can we worship? How can we reverence? How can we elevate? How can we exalt? How can we love that which we are unaware of? And Ibn Mas'ud mentions, إِلَّا لِيَعْرِفُونِ. In order that you know me. Again, how can we know someone or something that we have no consciousness of, no conscious awareness of? This is what we were given. Who can do that? We can't do it. If you can do it, give consciousness to this podium. Give consciousness to this microphone. We can't do it no matter how hard we try. But Allah Ta'ala gave us consciousness in a unique way no other creature possesses. No other creature possesses. We were dead, consisting of unformed earth, turab. And Allah Ta'ala fashioned us, then shaped us. And Allah Ta'ala made us upright. He dignified us. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We've ennobled the human being. No other animal is upright permanently. Who stands like this? No other animal. No, not the apes. Sometimes they can get up, but they have to go back down. And they're at an angle. Use a very long forearms and short legs. Look how Allah has proportioned us. If you know the golden mean, we're proportioned according to the golden mean. Just as the Kaaba is proportioned on the earth from north to south and from east to west, the direct proportions of the golden mean. Because Allah Ta'ala has made this earth for us, and He's made the Kaaba for us, and He's made Mecca for us as the center of our spiritual universe. Azza wa Jal. We were dead existing with no knowledge. That's a form of death. And some of you read the paper. Well, I flew from Charlotte, North Carolina this morning. So after my session yesterday, I went there for a fundraising dinner some people were having. And I flew back this morning. In the airport, I picked up the New York Times. In the New York Times, there was an article. It's extremely relevant to what we're talking about here. Written by a prisoner in Attica prison in upstate New York. Mentioning how he's blessed to be one of the fortunate 1%. In Attica prison, there are 2,300 inmates. 23 are in higher educational programs because money for those programs were cut. They were cut. When the philosophy of prison became not to rehabilitate prisons. So in 1980, there were 350 college programs in the prisons in this country. Most of them were publicly funded. Now, there are a handful. Most of them are privately funded. So, prisoners, and the prisoner was saying, are intellectually dead. And they come back into society intellectually dead. And they're expected to get on with their lives. They're expected not to get on a cycle that will lead them back. We know the exorbitant recidivism rates. Those who are in college programs, in prisons, is mentioned in the article. The recidivism rate is 2%. 2 out of every 100. The recidivism rate in general, what is it? Some people are familiar with prisons. Huh? Anyone? No, between 40 and 50%, almost half of every prisoner released will go back. Because they were mentally dead going in, and they're mentally dead coming out. We were mentally dead. And Allah Ta'ala brought us to life with knowledge. And taught us the purpose of this life. A person who doesn't know their purpose is dead. So that's a form of death. One of the Arab poets mentioned, لَيْسَ مَنْ مَاتَ فَاسْتَرَاحَ بِالْمَيْتِ إِنَّمَا الْمَيْتُ مَيِّتُ الْأَحْيَاءِ إِنَّمَا الْمَيْتُ مَنْ يَعِيشُ كَئِيبًا كَاسِفًا بَالُهُ قَلِيلَ الرَّجَاءِ. The dead are not those who physically expire and come to a rest. Rather, the dead are those who are mentally dead. Rather, the dead are those who live with no hope, with their hope shattered, in a state of depression, entertaining little hope. So we were brought to life with knowledge. Only Allah Ta'ala can do that. We have programs. Are they working? Are they teaching people the purpose of life? They want to know and searching. There was another article in today's New York Times, Sunday Times, about how one little village in Norway had so many of the young people going to fight in Syria, and most of them got killed because if you want to analyze what's happening in Iraq or Syria, what's happening are young people getting sucked up. Maybe some of you are here from the State Department or some other branch of government taking note. Hey, I mean, we're too close to Washington for that not to be the case. If you want to understand the causes of radicalism, then go read the lyrics of Bob Dylan's songs, Only a Pawn in Their Game. And just when you're thinking of some racist who are manipulating poor white folks to become their henchmen for the Ku Klux Klan or something, then the people calling the shots on these groups are manipulating young people to go and die for nothing, to go and murder innocent people, murder other Muslims. One of these poor young people from this village, he gets killed, he marries a girl from Russia who goes there to be a jihadi wife. And this miskina goes to Istanbul and blows herself up and kills a Turkish policeman. You know, that's really advancing some great interest. But the bottom line, these kids have empty lives. They have empty lives. And that's not an Islamic problem. That's a problem brought about by modernity. People in the pre-modern world, they knew what they were there for. It might have been simple. It might have been just, I'm a village farmer. They knew and they accepted that. They were proud of it. They tried to raise the best crops. The girls knew, I'm going to go up and I'm going to be a farmer's wife. And they were comfortable with that. Now kids grow up, they don't know what they are, who they are, where they're going. They're empty. They're empty, and so they try to find meaning in these appeals, these manipulative appeals on the internet. Oh, you have meaning. You're going to be a shaheed. You're going to be a martyr. You're going to be a mujahid. No, Allah tells us we're going to be someone who truly worships Allah. We're going to be someone who, through refining our souls, will know Allah. And if we know Allah, we understand we might be in a situation that calls for us to stand up to defend the faith. But we won't be doing it because we're alienated. This is the common denominator. Most of these kids were misfits and losers, looking for purpose and meaning. We won't do it seeking because we're alienated. We won't do it because we're not in with the in crowd. We'll do it because our spiritual maturation leads us to understand that there's a threat to our civilizing mission, as Dr. Zainab mentioned, Imran, and that we have to defend that. So we're not running away from the emptiness of what modernity or post-modernity have made us. We're running towards the defense of civilization and to build civilization and to defend the civilizing and humanizing gains that we've made collectively as a human species. That's what jihad is. And if we die, we won't die an empty death as a pawn in someone's geostrategic game. We'll die a death of meaning and purpose that will give life and not cause death. ثُمَّ يُحْيِيكُمْ, and then He gives you life. And we will give life because we've been given life. And we will not bring meaningless death because we are the victims of a meaningless life. So we were dead And He taught us our purpose. And He guided us. And He tells us, Ya ibadi, all my servants, Ya ibadi, kullukum dalin illa man hadaytu, fastahduni ahdikum. All my servants, all of you are astray except the ones I have guided. Seek guidance from me, I will guide you. Fastahduni ahdikum. Seek guidance from me, I will guide you. This is what we should be after. This is what we should be after. Seeking guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we will no longer be lost. And we will no longer fail to understand the purpose of our existence. We were dead following our passionate lust. So a person who just pursues their lust is dead. And this is what the atheists, they're trying to kill us. The materialists are trying to kill us. They just want us to follow our lust. They want us to surrender to our desires. Again, we touched on this the other day, because when we follow our lust and surrender to our desires, someone makes money. Because we're not just following our lust, we're following their lust. If it was just our lust, we would never pass a billboard that said, aren't you hungry for Burger King now? We'd just be hungry for whatever we could get our hands on. No, they want us to be hungry for Burger King now. We would never pass a billboard, the golden arches, I'm loving it. Some miskeen, I'm hating it. Never gave it up in 1994. And then I was down to the French fries. Then I found out there was beef tallow in the French fries when a Hindu guy sued McDonald's. Said no wonder they were so tasty when they got cold and stuck together. And we pray it was just beef tallow and not lard. No, I'm not loving it. Some miskeen sent me a thing with the golden arches, like Muslim, I'm loving it. So I wrote them, I said, why would you denigrate our religion by associating it with one of the symbols and citadels of capitalism and consumerism? I'm not loving it. We should be loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should be loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, these empty messages, marketing slogans, one-liners. You can't tweak the Quran, because the Quran wants you to think deeply. You can't think deeply in something that's packaged in 164 characters or whatever Twitter confines you to. We have to reflect. We have to go deep. The Quran wants us to be deep people and not to be shallow people. Not to just live on the surface, a superficial existence in a superficial world, following superficial slogans. They want to reduce us to superficial people. But we want to be the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be deep people. He wants us to be able to أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنِ. Do they not reflect on the Quran? Do they not reflect on the Quran? And Dr. Zainab, mashallah, Allah preserve her and bless her family, her noble family, said it starts with the heart. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Do they not reflect on the Quran, or are their hearts sealed up? The materialism, the consumerism, the superficiality wants to lock up our hearts, so we don't have the ability to reflect on the Quran, so that we don't have the ability to plunge into the depths of the Quran. But we have to unleash, we have to break those chains and break those shackles and unleash the potential of our hearts, because that's what humanizes us. That is the source of our humanity. That is the source of understanding the Quran. The Quran came to the heart of our messenger. قُلْ مَنْ كَانَ عَدُوًّا لِجِبْرِيلَ فَإِنَّهُ نَزَّلُ عَلَى قَلْبِكَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ مُصَدَّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ وَهُدًى وَبُشْرَى لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Who is an enemy unto us, unto Jibreel, for he brings the revelation down to your heart. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he passed it to the hearts of the companions, and they passed it down to us through our hearts. Through our hearts, brothers and sisters. Free your heart by breaking the shackles of materialism and consumerism and all of the other isms and schisms that seek to limit our human potential. We were the dead elements of the earth, and Allah brought us to light in the loins of our father Adam. Reflect on that. Reflect on, we are a physical manifestation of physical, the chromosomes, the DNA that's been handed out, right? Genetic markers that we can trace our ancestry all the way back to Adam alayhi salam. And we were dead. كلكم من آدم وآدم من تراب. All of you are from Adam, and Adam is from the earth. And from that earth, Allah brought us to life. And we came down and down and down from our father Adam. And we're one united humanity. Brothers and sisters in humanity. We're all related at the end of the day. We're all related. And we should never forget that. Because when we understand we are one vast human family with one common parentage at the end of the day. Adam alayhi salam, wa Hawa, Adam and Eve. Then it becomes more difficult for people to set us against each other. Just as it will be difficult to set us against our immediate brothers or our immediate sisters. When we are conscious and aware of the fact that ultimately we are all brothers and sisters, it becomes difficult for someone to manipulate us into fighting and destroying and demeaning and defaming each other. But there are people who have a different view of humanity, and they want to exploit the differences that Allah Ta'ala placed amongst us so we can recognize His creative power and creative genius. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. And they say, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَقَاتَلُوا. That's what they say. No, we say what the Quran says, that we know one another. And not that we do to each other what we see happening in these various places. The evil schemes of the awliya of shaitan, the dupes of Satan. Satan wants us to differ. So what does Allah say? We said, Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. We've made you from a single set of parents. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. And we made you into nations and tribes that you know one another. What does Allah Ta'ala say? وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ مِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. He's made you from a single pair. He's made from He's made from you your spouse to live together with them in peace and tranquility, and He's made between you love and mercy. Surely in this are signs for people who reflect. That's what Allah Ta'ala and all those who follow the messengers of Allah desire for humanity, the man and woman as the foundation of human society, to come together in love and mercy. What does shaitan want? فَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مِنْهُمَا مَا يُفَرِّقُونَ بِهِ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَزَوْجِهِ. He wants to split up with hatred. وَيُوقِي إِنَّمَا ذَلِكُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ. That's Satan. What does he do? وَيُوقِعُ بَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاوَةَ وَالْبَغْضَاءَ. He places hatred and enmity between you. That's shaitan. And that's Allah. Which camp are we in? Who do we follow? قُلِ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ ذَرْهُمْ فِي قَوْضِهِمْ يَلْعَبُونَ. Say Allah, قُلِ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ ذَرْهُمْ فِي قَوْضِهِمْ يَلْعَبُونَ. And then leave them in their empty distractions, idly playing. They're playing games with humanity. They're playing games with us. This is the Quranic message, and look at the people claiming Islam, murdering each other, calling each other to murder each other, denigrating each other, dismissing each other's the power of La ilaha illallah. This one says those aren't Muslims, just murder them. Those say those aren't Muslims, just murder them. But they all go to Hajj. They all face the same Qibla. They eat each other's dhabiha. Isn't that the definition of the Muslim? Whoever faces our Qibla and eats our dhabiha and makes our Hajj and fasts the same Ramadan. There's no Sunni Ramadan and Shi'i Ramadan. There's no Houthi Ramadan and Shafi'i Ramadan in Yemen. There's no Zaydi Ramadan and the Shafi'i Sunni Ramadan. There's Ramadan. There's no Sunni Hajj and the Shi'i Hajj. There's Hajj. There's no Sunni La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah and a Shi'i La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. There's just La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And our Prophet said the power of that, Man qala la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah. Whoever says La ilaha illallah will go to heaven. No, we want to consign them to hell and limit the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If there were Olympic Games for stupidity, there'd be a lot of Muslim gold medalists. No, brothers and sisters, follow the Quran. Follow the Quran. Never forget the fact. ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. Time is up. The end of the verse. ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. Then unto him you are all returned. Never forget that. This world isn't the end of our affair. We talk about injustice. If the world was the end of our affair, we could talk about injustice. Why were people killed by the tsunami? Why are those people being killed in Iraq or Syria, Tikrit? Why was ISIS slaughtering people? And now why the Shia militia slaughtering people? It's not right. Those babies deserve to live. Those mothers deserve to live. Why are people manipulating this kid, this lady, beautiful name, Ramazanova, from Dagestan, who blew herself up in Istanbul? Why did someone manipulate her into thinking she's going to advance the glorious cause of jihad by killing a Turkish policeman in Istanbul who's a Muslim she doesn't even know, and murdering herself and her fetus in her pregnant belly? It's not right. It's oppressive. It's wrong. Well, if this were the end of it, we could have those debates, but it's not the end. Because the one who's killed unjustly is a martyr, and they'll have eternal life in Jannah. And when you look at the 20 years they had in this world, or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 for some, or 100, there was a lady, she was 100, lived to be 104 years old. And they asked her, what's the best thing about being 104 years old? You know what she said? There's no peer pressure. You can explain that to the person sitting next to you. But what is 100 years in this dunya compared to eternity? You couldn't even measure it. From the beginning of time, from Adam, from the creation of the earth, until eternity. خالدين فيها أبدا في نعيم مقيم والسعادة الأبدية. Eternal bliss. What would 100 years look like on that continuum? You wouldn't even be, there's no known measure to even detect it. So a little suffering in this world, what does it mean compared to eternal bliss? That's the justice of Allah Ta'ala. And for those oppressors and those tyrants and those usurpers and exploiters and murderers, what is the little power they got in this world that they enjoyed before maybe they were taken out by a bomb or a drone or their own bodyguard? Compared to eternity, suffering and tormented in hell. That's the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. So we have to prepare for the return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by being aware that indeed we will be returned. Do you think we're not this for no reason? Do you think we're not like the monkeys? Some of you think you're like the monkeys. The singing group Monkeys. I love you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Those monkeys. Some of you think you're like them. Monkeys. But the monkeys can't make an iPad. The monkeys can't make a device that can send an invisible signal. Like some of you are filming right now. And as soon as everything's over, you're going to upload it to YouTube with an invisible signal bouncing off a satellite in geocentric Earth orbit, being received by a receiver, processing it, and then putting it on millions of screens all over the world. And monkeys are still trying to figure out how to get meat out of a nut with sticks. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah has ennobled us with His intellect for a purpose. He's given us the spiritual, the ability to know Him for a purpose. And part of that purpose is to understand we're going to return to Him. ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And then unto us you will all return. And how do we prepare for that? By having a healthy fear of the time we will return and stand before our Lord. Because if we have a healthy fear of that reality, it affects how we live in this world. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَىٰ. For one who fears, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ, fears the time they will stand before their Lord. ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ, and denies their soul the things it longs for. So shaitan wants to split up and divide. Shaitan wants to create warring factions. And shaitan also wants us to surrender to our desires. Surrender to your desires. Don't forget about standing before Allah. Forget about accountability before Allah. Forget about the meeting with your Lord. Just seek to assuage your carnal appetites here and now and forget about tomorrow. That's what shaitan wants. If it feels good, do it. Surrender to your desires. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. I can't tell you who to sock it to. This is your thing. You listen to those Muslims, they don't want you to have fun. Right? Well, Man, since I took Shahada, I had so much fun. People think I'm tripping half the time. I didn't inhale before I was Muslim. At least Obama's honest, right? I inhaled. I inhaled. Forget Bill Clinton. He's lying. I inhaled. I don't know about Hillary. I don't want to mess her prospects up. I'm not even going to ask her, Hillary, did you inhale? Obama was honest. He got elected. Come on, Hillary, tell us. I inhaled, but I wasn't a Muslim. It was pre-Shahada inhalation. Hey, Shaitan, just do your thing now. Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir. And we mentioned the other day, when you're in prison, you don't do your thing, you do the warden's thing. This is Allah's world. He's the warden. He tells us what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And He says, if we're a good prisoner, we will get out and we'll never come back. And if we're a good prisoner, we'll never be thrown into the hole. But in the world we're talking about, the hole is hot. In Attica or Sing Sing or San Quentin or Folsom or Auburn or Rahway or Lorton, we're in Virginia after all, the hole is usually cold. There's no heat down there. You're in segregation, solitary confinement. And the hole Allah Ta'ala throws people into is hot. And you have a lot of company. And despite all of that company, hell is greedy. And ask Allah Ta'ala, hal min mazid. Allah asks, hal imtalat. Are you filled up? Insatiable appetite. Hal min mazid. Are there any more? Brothers and sisters, save yourself. Turn to the Quran. Remember your Lord. Think of the time you will die. This world wants us to forget our death. No, Allah Ta'ala wants us to remember. ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. The inescapable, inevitable reality. And prepare for that. Prepare for that by living the dignified life of a believer. Prepare for that by giving yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prepare for that by being an obedient servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you will have bliss in this world. Because, and we'll stop here, I'm 15 minutes over the time. And Dr. Zainab was before me, so I can't ask her to yield time. And I don't know who's speaking next, so I can't ask them to yield time. But brothers and sisters, prepare for your death. Remember the time we will be dead. Remember the time we will go into the grave. Reflect on the time the dirt will be thrown on us. The next time you go to a funeral, imagine yourself in that coffin. Imagine the dirt being thrown on you. Imagine the people walking away from your gravesite. Imagine the angels questioning you. Imagining one day which hand the record of your deeds, of our deeds, will fly into. Will it be in the right? Will it be in the left? Imagine. Imam Muhasibi Tawaham, he wrote a book. Imagine, think about, reflect on the reality of death. And reflect on the reality that we will be returned to our Lord. ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.